Well, I think that YouTube and the WHO need to chat because if you noticed, Executive Director Mike Ryan, he said we need to look at the Scandinavian nations. Maybe they're making some sense. We need to look at our ability to self-regulate. This is all coming from Sweden, and that's the people I'm talking to now. You saw this. So the WHO is now saying, let's look at a different approach. The Swedish did not lock down. People are not locked in their homes. Kids under 16 are in school. Businesses are open, and their results are good. And Dr. Anders Tegnell, their chief epidemiologist, when asked, how's your approach working? He said, we're very happy. He said, you guys are the experimental lab rats. You're doing something never done. We're doing a rational, stepwise approach. We're allowing people to make their own decisions and control their own risk. And we trust that the Swedish citizens are smart. And now they're saying, who has the freedom now?
This is actually quite an about-face. And we had a report done from Sweden, and you did see people walking around, but they kept their distance. But they were in restaurants, and schools stayed open, and everything seems to be okay. And there's been a real pushback. Trump has said there's going to be a huge death rate. Been hearing, oh, it's going to be a huge death rate. They're making a mistake. That's not the case. You have an urgent care facility in Bakersfield, California. Is that correct?
I have 7. I have 7 throughout California, from Fresno down to almost San Diego.
Okay, so because I've heard arguments, it's only Bakersfield. He's using this small little community to extrapolate, but you actually have a fairly wide demographic across Southern California.
Again, my data and my opinions on my data are not the most important. I'll go through it with you if you like, but the most important thing I can share is the opinions of epidemiologists that have been watching this for 30 years. I interviewed Dr. Witkowski, which is a brilliant biostatistician. What does he do for a living? He analyzes studies and data and helps the public understand. So I asked him, what do you think of what's going on? I said, is there science for sheltering in place? Is there science for, social distancing? And he said, absolutely not. And then they interviewed the Swedish epidemiologist, and they said, is there data for locking people in their homes? And they said there really isn't. So this is an experiment we're trying. And my thought is, if you're going to do an experiment, you better have some good scientific data before you lock people in their homes, tell them they can't come out, cause depression, anxiety, alcoholism. This is stuff is coming into my offices. This is not fabricated. This is my opinion on what I'm seeing. And you have to ask yourself the big question.
Did it get to the limit? Were you almost about to run out of beds? Was there a real concern for shortage of ventilators? What did you see on the front line?
No, we're a spread out county. Kern County is one of the biggest counties in California. We're spread out. So I called the CEOs of the local hospitals, and they said our volume is down. They've had to cut hours. They have plenty of surge capacity if we should have another spike. So my volume is down significantly. Everybody has the same story in this area. Nobody's busy. Yesterday I checked, and we had 14 people in the hospitals, according to our local public health, that were in the hospital because of COVID. And we had, I think, 6 or 7 deaths total. Every death, is terrible. We don't want any death, but out of 1 million people, these numbers are fairly low. And so I asked them, we have surge capacity per their phone call I took with them. So if we should open up the schools and take a rational stepwise approach to open up this economy, and I was just sharing this data. This is raw data. This is not biostatistically analyzed by an epidemiologist. This is my opinion of raw data at one moment in time. You do not extrapolate this data to society. So the data I use now is from CDC, from Worldometer, and then I talk to the epidemiologists and the biostatisticians, and I say, what should be our message? Now that we have data, 2 months ago, we had no data. So of course we're gonna take a real cautious approach. That was wise. But now that we've had 2 months of data, should we take a different approach? Should we be more like Sweden? I say yes.
And, and during this press conference, you kept saying, millions of people infected, small death rate. Millions of people infected, small death rate. And you compared this to the flu. What is the death rate of COVID-19 compared to the flu in your mind?
Well, let's look at the data once again. The CDC on their website, in 2017, 2018, we had about 60,000 deaths from flu. The flu season usually lasts 3 to 4 months. I've been following flu seasons for 15 years. Sometimes it's bad. People are in hospitals. They're intubated. They're dying. Our hospitals are overwhelmed. It's terrible. Sometimes it's mild. This is like a bad flu season per Dr. Gisecki, per Dr. Witowski. These are epidemiologists analyzing flu cycles for 30 years, and they have told me this is like a severe flu. This is their opinion I'm sharing. How many deaths total? 62,299. We have 1 million total cases out of 6.2 million, or about 16.6%, 17% at a moment in time on Worldometer. A moment in time is what we have today.
Right.
But what I'm saying is we need to listen to the people who do this for a living, who have degrees in this, and who are saying this is like a severe flu, and they're recommending a stepwise approach to get the economy back going. And I think that's rational.